Governor Tony Evers announcing today he's become the first Midwest governor to join the U.S. Climate Alliance's Executive Committee. The U.S. Climate Alliance is a bipartisan coalition of 24 governors representing 55% of the U.S. population. The Executive Committee oversees the strategic direction of the bipartisan coalition of governors. Governor Evers joined the alliance in 2019 and today becomes the first Midwest governor to join the Executive Committee since the alliance was founded in 2017. The alliance says Governor Evers' work on the Executive Committee will help advance equitable solutions to environmental challenges, build a resilient, clean energy economy, and ensure a more sustainable future for all.